Today, we're diving deep into the foggy streets of Victorian London to revisit a game that sparked debate for nearly a decade: Assassin's Creed Syndicate. Can you believe it's been almost 10 years since we first grappled across those rooftops with Jacob and Evie Fry? A lot has changed since 2015. So let's find out how this game holds up in 2025. Was it underrated? Overhyped? Let's find out. Assassin's Creed Syndicate had a tough start. Released just 1 year after the infamous launch of Assassin's Creed Unity, it was battling a serious case of franchise fatigue. Unity's technical issues left a bad taste in many gamers' mouths, and Syndicate, unfortunately, bore the brunt of that. Sales weren't great, making it one of the lowest-selling titles in the series. But sales don't always tell the whole story, do they? Was Syndicate unfairly judged because of its predecessor's mess? Or did it have problems of its own? Ubisoft themselves acknowledged that Syndicate's sales reflected the negative impact of Unity's launch and a growing disinterest in the franchise. This led to a major shift in the series, paving the way for the RPG-style games we know today. But the question remains, did Syndicate deserve to be relegated to the shadows? Or was it a hidden gem waiting to be rediscovered? To understand Syndicate, we need to talk about its development. This was the first mainline Assassin's Creed game, led by Ubisoft Quebec. Before this, Ubisoft Montreal was the main force behind the series. Quebec brought a different approach, and it's evident in Syndicate. They're known for creating polished games, fewer bugs, smoother gameplay, but they also tend to lean towards a lighter tone, which is where things get a little controversial with Syndicate. This contrast in tone is something that I want to discuss. Now, I'm not against lighter tones in storytelling, but in Syndicate it just feels off. We're in Victorian London, a time of immense poverty, crime, and industrial grime. This setting screams for a darker, grittier narrative. The game touches on dark themes, child labor, Jack the Ripper, but it often clashes with the upbeat, almost comedic tone of the main story. It's like the game can't decide what it wants to be.
I can see it now. We'll call ourselves the Rooks.
Let's be clear, Syndicate's Victorian London is gorgeous. Ubisoft Quebec nailed the atmosphere. The attention to detail is incredible, from the iconic landmarks to the soot-stained buildings. You can almost smell the coal smoke and hear the clatter of horse-drawn carriages. The game really captures the feeling of a city on the cusp of massive technological change. You can really see the efforts that the development team went to, and it really shows. But there's a catch. While the city is beautiful, its design isn't always ideal for Assassin's Creed gameplay. The streets are much wider than in previous games, which makes parkour less fluid and free-running a bit pointless. It's not that the streets are empty. It is just that the parkour is not as good as other Assassin's Creed games. Now, Ubisoft tried to compensate for this with the grappling hook, but it's not a perfect solution. It's a bit clunky, and it doesn't allow for the same level of freedom as traditional parkour. There's also the horse-drawn carriages, which are very fun to use. The carriages are cool, and they fit the setting, but they also highlight the limitations of the city's design. They are fun to use, but they are not as good as the parkour that is in other Assassin's Creed games. The setting may not support parkour in the assassin fantasy quite as well as Paris, but you can't deny this is still a breathtaking world to explore. I'll admit, I'm not a huge fan of the more vibrant and bright color palette the game goes for. I think it looks way better with the moody, atmospheric kind of gritty look that sweeps over the world during the Ghost missions and several other various missions throughout the game. Syndicate introduced something new to the series: dual protagonists. We play as both Jacob and Evie Fry, twin assassins with very different personalities and approaches. Evie is the more traditional assassin, stealthy, methodical, focused on the pieces of Eden. Jacob is the brash, impulsive brawler who's more interested in liberating the streets through gang warfare. I personally prefer Evie over Jacob. The idea of dual protagonists is interesting, but the execution is a bit flawed. Jacob tends to get more screen time, and Evie's story often feels secondary. There's even a sequence in the game where you don't play as Evie at all. The sibling banter can be entertaining, but it often feels forced and undermines the seriousness of the situation. It's like they're trying too hard to be funny. Jacob has a very interesting dynamic with Maxwell Roth, which is one of the best sequences in the game. The game does not do a good job of explaining why Jacob and Evie do what they do, and the game just expects you to know why. I think the biggest problem is that the story doesn't really do much with either character. They're both pretty one-dimensional, and their motivations aren't always clear. It's like the writers had a cool concept but didn't quite know how to execute it. There is also the love story that happens between Evie and Henry, which feels very forced. Speaking of underdeveloped characters, let's talk about the main villain, Crawford Starrick. He's supposed to be this ruthless Templar Grandmaster who controls all of London, but he comes across as more of a cartoon villain. He spends most of his time monologuing in his office, and we never really see him do anything particularly evil, other than shooting his servants. He has no interaction with the protagonists until the very end of the game, which is a huge missed opportunity. The side villains, like Maxwell Roth and Pearl Atway, are far more interesting and memorable than Starrick. The ending boss fight is very repetitive and very boring. In the end, the villain is very underwhelming. Okay, enough negativity. Let's talk about what Syndicate does get right, and that's the black box assassination missions. These are, without a doubt, the highlight of the game. Building on the foundation laid by Unity, Syndicate's black box missions offer a ton of freedom and creativity. You're given a target and a large open environment, and it's up to you to figure out how to take them down. There are multiple opportunities, secret paths, and unique kill scenarios to discover. These missions really capture the feeling of being an assassin. You have to stalk your target, plan your approach, infiltrate the area, and use your skills to eliminate them silently. Pulling off a successful black box mission without being detected is incredibly satisfying. These missions make you feel like an actual assassin. The game does a great job of doing this, and these missions are one of the best parts of the game.
Now then, let's discuss this like... Good God! Who the bloody hell...
Oh, shut up.
Speaking of skills, let's talk about stealth and combat. Syndicate's stealth mechanics are generally solid. The cover system is improved over Unity, and there are plenty of tools and gadgets to play with: throwing knives, smoke bombs, voltaic bombs, berserk darts. The kidnapping mechanic is a fun addition, and the environmental kills add another layer of strategy. The stealth is a strong part of the game, and is very fun to use. Combat, on the other hand, is a bit of a mixed bag. The new weapon types, brass knuckles, cane swords, kukri, are interesting, but the combat system lacks depth and variety. Enemies are often damage sponges, and the combo system is inconsistent. It feels like they were trying to create a Batman Arkham-style combat system, but without the same level of polish and complexity. The combat is a weak part of the game, and is very repetitive. Syndicate introduced a few new features that didn't quite live up to their potential. The gang warfare system, where you recruit and command your own gang of rooks, is a cool idea, but it often feels superficial. The rooks don't really add much to the gameplay, and the gang wars can be repetitive. The gang warfare is a cool idea, but it is not very well executed. The train hideout is a fun novelty, but it's not as functional as it could be. It's a cool place to hang out, but most of the activities you can do there are also accessible from the pause menu. The train hideout is a fun novelty, but it is not very useful. These features are not very well executed and are just okay. Like many Ubisoft open-world games, Syndicate suffers from a bit of a formulaic design. The world is filled with collectibles and side activities, but they often feel disconnected and repetitive. It's like they just scattered a bunch of icons across the map without any real thought or purpose. The side quests and collectibles are not very well integrated into the world, and they often feel like a grind. The game does not do a good job of making the side quests and collectibles feel meaningful. The open world is very repetitive, and does not do a good job of making the player feel like they are in a living world. And finally, we have the modern-day storyline, or, should I say, the lack of a modern-day storyline. Ubisoft has been minimizing the modern-day elements in recent Assassin's Creed games, and Syndicate is no exception. The modern day is very minimal and does not add much to the game. It's like they just threw in a few cutscenes to remind us that there's a larger story going on, but they don't really care about it. The modern day is not very well executed, and does not add much to the game. The modern day is a forgotten story. So, after all this, was Assassin's Creed Syndicate underrated? I think the answer is complicated. It's a game with a lot of potential, but it's also held back by a number of flaws. The setting is gorgeous, the black box missions are fantastic, and the stealth mechanics are solid. But the story is weak, the characters are underdeveloped, and the open world design is formulaic. The game has a lot of potential, but it is also held back by a number of flaws. Ultimately, Syndicate is a good game, but it's not a great game. It's a fun diversion, but it's not a game that will stick with you for years to come. It's a game that is worth playing, but it is not a game that will blow you away. It's a game that is just okay. But hey, that's just my opinion. What do you think about Assassin's Creed Syndicate? Let me know in the comments below. Did you love it? Hate it? Think I'm completely wrong? I want to hear your thoughts. And if you enjoyed this video, be sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more Assassin's Creed content. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.